Episode 4 of One Punch Man Season 3 was pretty good? Well, in short, yes, I agree, it was pretty good, but that doesn't mean it is flawless or it's perfect or it is a masterpiece of an animation whatsoever. So yes everyone, welcome back to my honest thoughts on the actual episode of One Punch Man Season 3, and in today's video, we will be talking about episode 4 that covered the aftermath of Garo vs Bug God and Royal Ripper, the hot pot scene itself, the entrance of the S-Class heroes, and also Garo one-shotting Royal Ripper to save Tareo. So if you guys do not want to watch until the end, or you listen to me yap all day, this episode was pretty good. I actually enjoyed every single part of this episode, but that doesn't mean every single flaw that I notice will magically disappear. So yes everyone, I will be pointing out both good and a bad part of this episode. I'm not going to blindly glaze and blindly hate on the episode because that is just dumb. But yes everyone, without further ado, let's get straight into the flaws. Well, in episode 4, I don't think there is a major flaw that could be made fun of, I would say. Most of it are literally the same thing again and again. Obviously, we all know the lack of animation will occur in this episode as well. As we've seen from episode 1, the lack of animation has always been a thing. As I first played the episode, it's literally just a rewind sequence. Well, I do understand they want to refresh a bit, but it kind of looked like it is a way to cut corners. And considering the hellish production behind the scene, it actually does make sense. It is also probably was made to adjust with the pacing itself so that they only covered this particular part of the manga in this episode and they want to stack the action part in the next one. But I personally am not really a big fan of this decision of rewinding almost the entirety of the fight scene. They could have just went with a normal flashback, but again, it's just a small nitpick from me. But yes, there are still some questionable direction here and there, especially this part when Garo was trying his best to stand up, and then in the next panel, it's literally him standing up. Like, what the hell? There's no continuation of how the scene is being placed. I mean, like in the manga, it probably looked like that, but again, what works in the manga doesn't mean it will work well in the anime itself. That's why an anime adaptation needs to adapt. And again, the storyboard is one-to-one to the manga. At this point, I don't really care anymore as long as it looks good. It's not really my priority since all of the talking part are just them goofing around. But I did see a lot of people talks about the usage of neon color. Yes, some part of the episode was pretty questionable on why they're using this color palette. It's not really my slice of cake as well. But I would say in this particular episode, the usage of it felt a bit more intentional. It's not like they are randomly placing them and people would say, oh my goodness, the Garo one, why did they put a disco light over it? After watching the episode itself, do I prefer the original teaser shot? Yes, but it doesn't entirely ruin or destroy the scene alone because it flows well with the actual scene itself. So I don't really see a big problem with it. Yes, I would prefer the teaser version even more, but it's really not that deep. It's not the end of the world. Obviously, there are some stiffness in animation here and there, some pretty awkward looking frames, which is again normal in the anime industry considering the fact that they are in such a hellish production. These type of frames are unfortunately inevitable. There are some panning shots that I'm not really a big fan of again, but overall I don't think there's a major flaw of this episode itself. Some people are saying the last part was butchered. I honestly don't think so. Yes, there are tons of details that has been removed, but it is a moving animation. It moves. It is hard to maintain same quality of drawing, especially when your panel looks like this, especially when you are Yusuke Murata. It is again very hard to maintain this level of art quality, especially if it's a moving scene. Again, Aoki literally saved that scene alone, and I would argue they did justice for the panel. But again, since this is the flaw section of the episode itself, I will only talk about the flaw of the episode itself, and I can't really find a major one or something that is really that bad. And even the lack of animation has always been a thing in season 3, but in this episode in particular, everything seems to move pretty well. Well, except for the hot pot scene, which I am not really a big fan of. Unfortunately, I don't think they adapted that really well, but I'll talk more about what they did well in the hot pot scene, because obviously the lack of animation is really showing in that particular sequence, but I'll talk what I like about it in a bit. Now that we have finished talking about the flaws, let's talk about the good part, because people don't usually watch until this part of the video, because people will just comment down below, "You're coping, stop defending this trash." I am not. I'm not sure what video you are watching, but you probably have went to a wrong comment section, because sure, I did defend some points that I personally agree with, but that doesn't mean I am blindly glazing this particular anime at all. So again, this particular episode had really strong drawings here and there, especially that Royal Reaper eye shot. Holy shit, the drawing quality is really strong. Again, as I've mentioned in my goodness video, Senya Hasegawa is literally one of the best animation director in JC stuff, and him working on this episode brings a lot of really strong drawing that is very noticeable here and there. So yeah, there you go, the good news. Again, there are some few parts of this episode that flows pretty good. It is again something that has been a problem in season 3 so far, and I'm glad that way of flowing a scene doesn't really occur in this episode. So as an example, this particular shot of Garo, when he was walking, the camera pans upwards to the sky, and then when it transitions to another scene, the camera pans from upwards to downwards, and it focuses on the child emperor himself. Again, this is a basic way of flowing a scene, and this has been unfortunately their struggle in episode 1, 2, and 3, and this is most likely due to how the episode director Nana Fujihara is being a bit more ambitious in terms of how they wanna shape this episode as a whole, and how they want to make every scene flows one to another in a way that it feels more like an anime adaptation rather than a straight copy from the manga. Again, there are tons of direction choice which I am really impressed with, which is this particular part of the S-Class hero entrance. Again, it is literally one to the manga, but somehow it felt really heroic. Yes, even the placing of the color, the neon color palette, felt a bit more intentional in this episode as well. As I've mentioned earlier, it doesn't feel like they are randomly placing them. It's just the fact that I don't like one of the color that has been used. It felt a bit forced, I would say. I would argue that this is the neatest work they've done in season 3 so far, and Nana Fujihara as the episode director really did a great job being a lot more ambitious on how they want to shape this episode up. The art direction and compositing has been incredible. Big props to Yuki Hirose and also Sakura Murakami, the new art director of season 3. These two has been again a carry towards the visual and overall aesthetic look of One Punch Man season 3. So again, I am really glad these two hop on this production line. Other than that though, we also did see a snippet of what a 3D CG usage will look like in the episode itself. Again, this is a pretty short scene. It is completely CG if I'm not mistaken, but unfortunately I have a mixed bag on this. The movement doesn't look bad, but the texture of the wall, the texture of the background itself felt a bit unfinished, or the rendering felt a bit cheap. Again, I really hope this is not something that will occur 24/7 if they want to use the 3D CG. Hopefully in the later episode it will be in a more well-textured kind of background. Again, a small nitpick for me, but I'm really curious to see what they'll bring for us on the table for episode 5, because it's going to be the turning point. Also, not to forget Kenichiro Aoki scene in that last moment. To be honest, we haven't seen much from him. We got that one pre-animated PV, we also got the episode 2 cut, which is again not really his best work, and also this latest one. Again, none of these is comparable to any of his work in the past, because again, production hell that they are facing right now. I'm pretty sure literally everyone on that team aren't able to show their true capability in terms of how they want to express their creativity on this show, which is again really unfortunate. But let's just hope that this is just my concern, my personal concern, that I hope Aoki will not jump into other production line since he did make a cut in the recent episode of Mugen Gacha. I hope that he won't be staying there for too long, and I really hope he will be taking a huge role as the main action animator for One Punch Man Season 3, because again, he is one of the few savior of One Punch Man from JC stuff. So please Aoki, please stay. And overall, I would say this is the best out of all the other Season 3 episode, and yes, as I've said, this is the neatest that they have done for an episode of One Punch Man, even though I'm not really a big fan of the hot pot scene since the lack of animation is actually showing a lot there, where they are literally using the same shot for the next 30 seconds. But despite that, some of the comedy scenes really hits. And I really love how the artistic choice of them changing the art style to another one for the sake of changing the entirety of the tone that they are trying to deliver. Yes, this one where Dr. Kuseno is talking to Genos, the change of art style really makes me giggle. Again, the comedy is on point, it's just the fact that the lack of animation is really showing there, and it's really unfortunate. But with that being said, let's just hope for the best. Episode 5 will be the turning point. Either people will keep on glazing and defending this season, or a huge jump towards the bandwagon hate. But for me, I will keep on milking One Punch Man, and I will not pick a side, because I criticize when I can, and I'll give the credit when it's due. So with that being said, thank you very much for watching my honest thoughts on episode 4 of One Punch Man Season 3, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.